just to give you a little bit about my background. Okay, so I just put a few funny pictures to try and entertain you guys. So this picture is when I soloed. So that's my flight instructor, Jay Stearns. I learned how to fly at a little airport here in town in St. Louis called St. Charles Airport. And I soloed in a little Cessna. So it's a little two-seater Cessna 152. And I have on my soccer jersey because I was really into soccer. And, so it's a fun photo for me to look back on. And so at the time I was balancing playing soccer and trying to get good grades in school and then starting to learn how to fly. So that's my how it all started picture. Okay. And now I tried to impress you guys by having some props spinning. So this is, I've worked really hard in my career in this airplane in this picture. I own it with my husband. My husband is a pilot also. So we're very proud of this aircraft because we worked very hard, saved up a lot of money to purchase that plane. That picture, I'm waving in that picture, if you can see me waving, that's me in the cockpit waving. And the picture's taken at Creve Coeur Airport. And the reason why I want to mention Creve Coeur Airport is there's a program out there called Gateway Youth. And I think they're more active on the weekends than during the week. But there's a gentleman out there that has a hangar, and he has simulators set up where you can put on like VR headsets and fly airplanes. And it's a volunteer, organization. But I can't emphasize enough, like if you're interested in aviation, you want to get your hands on a simulator. Maybe you didn't have time today at this flight school. You could go out to Creve Coeur. You'll see the signs. There's huge signs that say Gateway Youth. Or you could just go in the office and ask them, hey, Lindsey told me about Gateway Youth, point me in the right direction. I have an 11-year-old son, and he goes out every Sunday with my dad and flies the simulators. So it's just a great way to kind of get a start in aviation and decide like if this is something you really like doing. So what else on the slide? I just kind of like lined out how everything went for me. So graduated high school in '97, got my private pilot license in '99. A year later, I earned my commercial pilot license. This was all out at St. Charles Airport, that same airport here in town. So I did things a little differently than you heard the girls on the panel, where I did all my licenses separate from college. So that's just an option that you can take, is you go out to a local flight school and you get your pilot licenses that way. I would recommend that if you have someone who's helping you mentor and you're a self-starter where you have a task, you're going to get it done. So I was on a mission, I had the support of my family, so it worked out for me to have my college degree separate from my ratings. But I wouldn't necessarily recommend that for everybody, because sometimes it's nice to be in a program like this at SLU where the mentorship is all in-house and you're getting your college degree and your ratings at the same time. So once I graduated college in '01, my goal was to have a job when I graduated. Hopefully that's everybody's goal. But so that was my goal. So I knew I needed to get my instructor license done because that's kind of like the entry-level first paying job for aviation. At that point, someone else is paying for the plane and they're paying you. So you can scrap by, get your first apartment, get out of your parents' house and start living life. And so I was really excited to get to that point in my career where I was earning an income. Unfortunately for me, September 11th happened. That slowed things down for me and kind of changed the career path I was on. I thought I would go straight to the airlines and fly with my father. September 11th caused so many changes in the aviation industry. So my father's airline at the time was TWA. It got bought out by American. And they never hired until my dad retired. So I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I gonna do? Like this whole time, I just wanted to go fly with my dad. That was my whole career plan. What am I gonna do now? And so I flew charter. I still flew airline as a regional airline pilot. And then I made the jump over into corporate flying. So let me talk first about the airline option. So I've got a fun picture to show you guys. So that's me and my father, and We're sitting in the engine of a 757, so like a Boeing 757 engine. And this was his retirement flight. So I got to sit in the cockpit with him. The airline I was working for was Republic, which is a regional airline similar to GoJet Airlines. I saw them here today. Hello. So I spent 10 years at the airlines working at that. They call it a regional airline, and then the other term we use is mainline carrier. So the regionals would be like GoJet, Republic. They're a great way to get hired as a first officer, build your time, upgrade to captain, and then get hired by the mainline carriers is kind of more of an ultimate goal. Now, some people do make a career out of the regional airlines, and a lot of that has to do with what motivates you. Do you want to commute? Do you not want to commute? Like if the regional's based in your hometown, you may want to just stay at that regional airline. And the nice thing is that the pay these days, like you can make a career and not necessarily have to make that next jump. The problem with the next jump is you start over. Now you're at the bottom of the seniority list. You got to work your way up again. For some people that makes sense because you're on a whole nother pay scale. You're flying larger aircraft, and that's what motivates them. They want to fly big planes and fly for the major carriers. So I'll tell you one joke today, but it's not very funny. When I was a regional airline pilot, the joke was, what's the difference between a regional airline pilot and a large pizza? And the joke was a large pizza could actually feed a family of 4. So the pay has come a long way since I was an airline pilot back in the early 2000s. And so I just want to leave that, that door open for you guys that, you'll find your stop along the way. You might build your time at a charter carrier and go, I love this. At Spirit Airport, where I work, there is a couple charter operators, and they're great places to work. They'll hire you when you're a little bit lower time like the airlines, but a lot of people call those jobs, their full-time work and they're staying. They're not looking to move up. It really depends on the type of plane you want to fly, the type of people you want to be around. So it's just a very unique choice in the path that you make in your career, and it really depends on what motivates you. And so anyway, so here's that picture of me and my dad. The next picture is my corporate career. So, and I'm starting to hint at, and Michelle mentioned that I have kids. So that's my son. He's 11 now. He's really into aviation. And so my corporate career, so I flew for a regional for 10 years, and then my base in St. Louis shut down. I chose, I don't want to commute, so I got to find a different place to work. And I made the jump from commercial, so that's like the airlines, what you travel on, over to corporate. So corporate's this whole nother world of aviation that not everybody knows about. And that's what I'm hoping to kind of educate you guys the most on today, because I think it's a clear path to go airline when you come from these flight schools, and not so clear of how do I get to a job like you have now, Lindsey? So you have to build your time somehow. So whether you're at a charter or freight or airline, a lot of corporate carriers have minimum flight hours they're looking for you to achieve, and they'll post those so you'll see the job posting on LinkedIn, and they may have a total hours of experience they want you to have before they will consider you. So I was hired to fly the airplane on the right for my previous corporate operator. That's a Challenger 300, so that's a super mid-sized jet, so it holds 8 people, and it was designed to fly from New York to LA. So that was a great airplane to fly. The company that I flew that for had some financial hardships, and so their flight department closed down. The nice thing is there's so much opportunity in St. Louis as far as corporate flight departments. I don't think until I got into corporate aviation that I realized just how many Fortune 500 and Fortune 100 companies there are based here in St. Louis. So the company I work for is Nestle Purina, and but there's so many others, just off the top of my head, Post and Emerson, Enterprise, Centene, there's just tons of corporate flight departments in St. Louis, and they're all interested in hiring you, and they talk to me about how do we outreach this community, and I say through mentorship. So there's some great ways to learn about those companies. And so there's an organization, I'm going to talk a little bit more in a second. They have a booth here today, and it's a really funny acronym, GIZOBA. And I didn't sneeze, that's the real name. And it's Greater St. Louis Business Aircraft Association. But all those corporations that I just mentioned are members in that group. And as students, you get a free membership. They have quarterly meetings. They're luncheons, so that means free food. And you can meet these folks and get to know them and find out about internship possibilities. So it's a great organization to be a part of. Okay, so the picture on the right is a Gulfstream, and that is the aircraft that I'm flying now. Yes, I see them raising the roof over there. So, and there's a St. Louis connection because Gulfstream has a huge facility here at this airport where they're servicing. You guys, I'm sure, talked a lot about it. Finishing the aircraft, servicing the aircraft. They're awesome airplanes to fly. I feel very lucky that I get to fly an aircraft that advanced and well made. It's pretty awesome. So let's see what else I have for you here. Okay, so the other title that Michelle mentioned is I'm a designated pilot examiner. So that's me in the Diamond, which is a two-seater with the canopy. So the canopy's open. That's Dalton. He's super happy. He passed his instrument test in that picture, and we were sweating. It was July. It was hot. And then the picture on the right, that's me and Chase. That's probably his CFI. I'm trying to think. So Chase, probably that was his CFI based on timing. I'm looking at my pregnant belly going, when did Chase get his CFI? So I look a little pregnant in that picture, and I had some additional ones for you to laugh at. Yes, I got in the Diamond pregnant. Yes, I finally said, okay, no more am I getting in that Diamond pregnant. I'm kind of hiding it because my shirt's black. In the picture on the right, that's me in a Challenger at my previous employer. And my point in showing you these totally embarrassing pictures of me pregnant is just showing that you don't have to choose between an aviation career and a family. You can have both. You have to have a support network. So with my first child, my son, I flew the whole time. So I took, they gave me like 3 months off after I had him, and then I went and came back to work. My second child, she's 2. I had her after my first corporate job ended, and so I took a break, had her, and now that she's 2, I just came back to work full-time as a corporate pilot. I was doing the DPE work for about 6 or 8 years now. I think I've been doing that. It's great work for me. It's kind of my way to give back to the community and help me mentor, especially young girls. As Michelle mentioned, it's a job of the FAA, so I'm doing the FAA's work for them as a contractor. I was smiling the whole time listening to all the girls on the panel because I've flown with most of them, tested most of them, so it's a great experience for me. And I love being out here, like in the flight schools, as a designated pilot examiner, because most of them are male, most of them are older, and then they see me and they're like, oh wait, hold on a second. She's a designated pilot examiner, so I just love showing girls that like we can do it too. We can have children while we do it. Like you can make it all work. You just have to have, the work ethic and the support. There's a village behind me that helps me with my children and allows me to work, but it is awesome that I can do it all. What else do I have for you guys? Okay, so scholarship opportunity. So I really wanted to talk about this because aviation is not cheap. And Bree mentioned AOPA already. So that's the one on the top here. They're a national organization. And you wouldn't even have to pay for a membership to go onto their website and search around and find all the information about scholarships. You can pay for a membership, and there's benefits to having a membership with them. I'm a member, but it's just a place where you can go and find out information about scholarships. So that's a good national. Another national organization is Women in Aviation International. They have tons of scholarship opportunities as well. Same with NBAA, National Business Aviation Association. So all these, if you Google them, the companies are going to come up, and there are scholarship opportunities. And then the crazy acronym that I already mentioned, GIZABA, that's our local, and they have scholarship opportunities as well. So this is just 4 different companies where there's opportunities for you to earn scholarships, and that can be the difference in launching you into your career. Like Bree was saying, that $10,000 that she earned through AOPA allowed her to get her private pilot license to be able to afford it. So for me, I had support from my family financially, and I also worked 2 jobs, worked line service, and the hours that I would work at the airport washing the windshields and pumping the gas, they would put that on account for me, and then I would fly that money, during my flight training. So if you really want it, you figure out a way to afford it and make it happen. So I think that's it on my slides. It was just going to be open for questions after that. And I also brought a guest speaker, surprise guest speaker with me. So I brought my boss, and he's my chief pilot of my flight department. And there he is, he's hiding over here. So I asked him if he could come speak today for a few minutes. He just got back from Japan, and he said yes, which was really nice of him. So he can talk a little bit about military options that weren't in my path, but are an excellent way to get involved and afford a career in aviation. So Jay is going to talk for a moment, and then I'll take questions.
Hey everybody, a surprise guest for me too. So I'm going to be kind of winging this, hopefully, and again I can answer any questions that I might bring up, and I'll try not to ramble. If anyone has had an exam from Lindsey, we all know, or if you're going to have one, be prepared. They don't call her the hammer for no reason, as you could tell. Yeah. So I think I wanted to talk to you. My connection, I guess, to SLU would be my daughter goes to SLU. She's currently a sophomore. I'm from here in St. Louis. I live in Webster Groves for my NERICS student. Yeah. So I've been moved around a little bit with my path, but my path was probably different than what most of you have thought about, and I think it'd be good. I tell this to a lot of kids as an option, and there's a lot of benefits to doing it. So when I first went down this path, I thought the only way to become a pilot, I grew up in a small town in central Missouri, and I thought the only way to do this was to join the military. And initially, when I went to join, this is late 90s, there were more pilots than airplanes in the Air Force. It was being drawn down, and they're like, probably not going to hire you just because I wore glasses. A few years go by, they realize they need pilots. The glasses aren't an issue in the military at all, just so you know. And we do have some active duty military pilots in the back. Hey guys, I'm going to talk to you about something a little bit different, and they might know about this. I'm sure you've had questions for them, or you will, but even when I went through pilot training in the Air Force, my active duty classmates, most of them didn't even know that what I did existed. And most of the people that I talked to later in their careers say, I wish someone would have told me that did exist. So I came up through, the only thing I knew about aviation was my dad was a crew chief, which is like a mechanic for airplanes on a C-130 in the Air National Guard. So he was always like, well, you should join the Guard. And I was always like, I don't want to be in the military. He goes, yeah, but it's a really good deal. You could be a pilot. And I'm like, well, I don't want to be in the military. Well, some time went by, and I realized, okay, I finished college. I went to Mizzou, finished college, and went, okay, it actually looks pretty cool. So when I went down that path, it was the Air National Guard, which currently I'm in the reserves out at Scott Air Force Base in a non-flying job, but I flew C-130s for 15 years out of St. Joe, Missouri in the Air National Guard. So what that basically entails, you would join the Guard just like you would join the active duty military. They send you to pilot training, you come back, you fly the airplanes of your Guard unit. Out at Scott there's a air refueling Guard unit for Illinois. I was in Missouri in St. Joe, and they send you to do all of the same things as an active duty military pilot, but when you come back, you're part-time. So if you've ever, I don't know if you've ever heard of this, but for the Guard, it's 1 weekend a month, 2 weeks out of the year. It's a little more than that, but it's a part-time flying position where they're gonna train you, they're gonna pay you for while you're doing it. When you come back, you have a job available for you. And when I say a job available for you, I basically built my time. Instead of working flight instructing for CFI or working for a regional, I went straight from the military straight to my corporate job at Nestle because I just built my time flying C-130s. And it was great. The best flying I've ever done. I would highly recommend it. So it's just another option. I don't want to give too much details about it, but it's just another option for someone that's like, I don't know if I'm a all-in, full-time active duty military person, but a 1 week in a month kind of thing I could do. Like I said, it's a little more than that because you do have to serve for other things when they do come up. But anyway, a great option. And I'm not up here saying it because I'm recruiting for the military. I truly believe in it. My daughter at SLU just joined the Guard here in St. Louis. So what that means out of Jefferson Barracks, so she'll go 1 weekend a month and 2 weeks out of the year. But what she'll get from that was a $50,000 signing bonus to join, and then all of her school here at SLU will be paid for. So one of the things that people look at is how do you pay $100,000 or $50,000 or whatever flight school you end up at to get all these ratings? It's just a way to go, well, there's a signing bonus, I get free college, I get all of those ratings paid for through the Air Force flight instructing. Or you can use your bonus to pay for it and already have that experience when you go. So that's kind of my path. With now in the corporate world, I heard it's interesting when the panel was up and it's like, I want to fly for United, and I want to fly for Delta. In the military, in the reserves, everyone flies for an airline for the most part. 95% of all my colleagues in the Guard are all airline pilots. And it's a great connection. I went to United. I never actually went. I almost went to United. I interviewed. I got hired. I got a call from my buddy the same day saying, you can sleep easy tonight. It's just nice to know people. Ended up staying in corporate because it's a path that you really should look into. When you look at, well, I'd like to choose an airline or a corporate flight department, the difference being, well, you could work 8 days a month or you could work 16 days a month. You can live in St. Louis where you work, or you can commute to Chicago every week to go to your airline job. So there's a lot of, Lindsey can answer those questions for you, but a lot of different payoffs. People mentioned wanting to do different things like firefighting, things like that. There's Guard units that support the firefight mission out of Reno. There's actually a couple that do that. So through the military, a lot of those things are also available in the Guard. So let me make sure I hit all the things. A big thing too, I'm still in the reserves. The aviation industry can be a little bit cyclical. That's the one thing that you hear can scare people. Lindsey talked about 9/11 happened and the airlines was a tough place to get a job at that time. I've always had this fallback on my Guard, my reserve career, that I always had a job kind of in my hip pocket if I ever needed to go to that option. Talked about that. And then yeah, so another big thing when people say, well, I'd like to retire, but I need health insurance. I actually use my military health insurance now. I know this are things that you don't even think about. But one day, when you have a family, and I know people that want to retire and they can't, the things from the military are, insurance when you're retired, pension, health insurance is also a big benefit. And the other thing too, I was in the corporate world, she talked about, I just got back from Japan. When you're exploring all your options out there, whether it's military, corporate, airlines, the corporate world is just a great place. We fly these awesome airplanes. They're probably the coolest plane you could possibly fly outside of the military in civilian aviation. And if anyone wants to come sit in the cockpit and take a look at G500, give us a call. I'll bring you out to our hangar anytime you want, out at Spirit, and you can see one up close. But you'll get if you want to go see the world, I was in Japan last week. I'm going to be in Switzerland next week. I might be in Fayetteville, Arkansas the week after that. I don't know. But there's a lot of different things you just get to see and do when in a corporate world of aviation. So anyway, sorry I rambled. I didn't prepare much for this, but if you have any, I'll hang out too. You have questions for Lindsey, but if you want to talk to me about the guard and that option, I'm available. If you want to talk about active duty, there's your ladies in the back. But if the ladies in the back want to talk about joining the guard, I would highly recommend it. Anyway, thank you all.
Thanks, Jay. I was really excited when he said he'd come out and speak today, because I mean that was just what I think is really valuable information about a path that you can take, and that commitment you make to the military, you benefit. They're going to pay for your ratings, and then just to have that financial security of having health insurance down the road and allowing you to retire with peace of mind. So in my father, my uncles and my grandfather were all military. I chose not to go the military route because I was on that fast track into my dad's right seat at the airlines before he retired. And I already talked about how that plan, got messed up. But by the time that had happened, it was kind of like too late, and I'd already, chosen a path. If I'd ever do my career again and do a redo, I would start this route with the Guard. That's how I would do it. So. There's a little bit of regret there, but because I think it's an awesome path to take in your aviation career. But at the same time, I also don't regret a single step in my career, because it got me to where I am today. And you can see what an awesome individual I have as my chief pilot at my flight department. And that's something that's really nice about corporate aviation. Is it's a lot more intimate of a setting where you're very close with your coworkers, and at the airlines there's a lot of benefits to having a set schedule. Your days off way in advance. You get to fly certain type of equipment, or they're based in certain cities, and that's where I was talking about. It's just a very individual choice, but I was really hoping between me and him today that we can kind of open up that world, that option to you of oh wait, there's corporate aviation out there. For me, it's very fun to fly my coworkers around, especially when things are going great in the company. I might take a trip and then there's a press release about what happened, and I know that I was a part of that for the company. So that's very fun to me. I like having those relationships with the people that we fly. Where at the airlines, you had your relationship with your crew, but every trip that would swap. And so it was just a little bit different. I also, if we had a delay, I would get up and actually look at all my passengers and say, I'm sorry, we're broke, or I'm sorry, the weather's bad, we're gonna have to wait. And it was amazing, just getting up and looking at people in their eye. I feel like my passengers were the happiest delayed passengers out there, because at least I was telling them what was going on. So, but I was always kind of taking that personable aspect. And so when I made the jump from airline over to corporate, it was a super easy jump because I was already interested in building those relationships and interacting with the passengers on the flight, which are something you definitely have to be comfortable doing if you're a corporate pilot. Okay, I'll open it up to questions now. If anybody has any questions, we'd love to answer those.